Someone asked me to stream, and so I'm back already. Should probably change Twitch title though. Where's my dashboard? Update the information, and wait, what am I streaming? I mean, I'm ready. If it's this game. So, this is the semi-finals. I have like no information about this game. I've kind of just jumped in. I feel like this is the winners bracket. Let's take a look. So this is an advert for lingerie. We don't need that though. Torpid and BestN00b are in the winners finals, and in the losers bracket is Adilla and Redbeard. So the winner of that will go on into the grand finals. So I'm going to close that down. So I believe this is going to be game 1 of the series. And we'll go in anticipating this as game 1 of the series. So starting off on the top side of the map, we've got Torpid playing as an Inquisitor, and we've got BestN00b as a BbBoS. I am apparently going to be hosting the next game, according to Survival. That's fine. Map is going to be Ashes of Typhon, assuming this is the first game. Is this game 1? Assuming this is the first game, the map is fixed, and it does look like Torpid, I think, was at the top of the bracket. I already closed the page, so I'm not 100% sure. So, Inquisitor, very good against melee units, able to stun the BbBoS in place, able to get the Assayer armor in tier 2 or Purgatus ability in tier 3, making her a very useful counter to melee units, so probably won't see as much melee coming out of BestN00b in this game. BestN00b probably going to be opting for a triple shooter build. We've seen him go for this build a couple of times, or I've seen him go for this build a couple of times in 1v1 practice when he's playing against other people, so I imagine we'll probably see something like this in this game. Inquisitor, though, with the Sentinel together is going to be a bit of a strong force, but the double shooters should be able to force off the Sentinel. Sentinel, though, is going to try and pick off some models, and it does allow some time for the Inquisitor to get into melee combat against these shooters here. BbBoS is going to come in though to try and put an end to this. You have the stop ability going off, which does catch out the Inquisitor, but the stomp on the Sentinel is now ready to go. Shooters are still taking a bit of damage here. Sentinel should be able to poke down the BbBoS a decent amount here. We should have Hammer of the Witch coming out, and it is coming out now. BbBoS is going to be stunned into place there for a bit. Sentinel does also have its stomp ability to make use of as well. Sorry that stun didn't last as long as I thought it would, but BbBoS is going to come in, Sentinel is going to stun, BbBoS is going to get knocked over there, and BbBoS should be able to force off the Inquisitor still. I don't think the Inquisitor is going to deal that much damage. But Double Guardsmen are making their way over to provide some support to Torpid. Meanwhile, Sluggers for BestN00b are just on capping duties. The other side of the map here, Torpid has forfeited his requisition and power in favour of applying more pressure on this VP early on. No Guardsman upgrades here, or as I say that, we have one Guardsman upgrade here for one of the Guardsman squads, or I say Guardsman upgrade, sorry, the Sergeant upgrade, and already some looters out on the field. 2 generators have been placed out of Torpid, and only just 1 generator so far for BestN00b. The Sentinel now making its way over to these Sluggers. These Sluggers alone not going to be able to do too much against that Sentinel. Should be able to pick off a couple of models, or at least force a very quick retreat. Bo decides to go in for the VP instead. Torpid really wants to apply some VP pressure in this game, focusing on the double side. At Oceans, yes, I did remove the delay because I've gone back to my older settings because I have no idea how this works with 3-second delay. There's a lot of, like, 3 minutes of footage I have to keep in memory otherwise. Plus, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think Torpid and BestN00b are going to cheat. So Inquisitor has a nice position here. She's actually got these shot blockers, although Sentinel has just killed all of that. But the Inquisitor was in such a position that only 4 models could actually hit, and the other 2 were just having to run around because you see her covering the back of herself. Until the Sentinel did come over and crush it. So Sentinel has already used its stomp ability, so Inquisitor will use Hammer of the Witches on the lead looter model to stun the one with the Death Gun, but there's still a lot of DACA coming in here. We do have a heavy weapons team trying to set up here. Depends on who's going to suppress who first. Looters are going to get the first shot here. The heavy weapons team are going to get their salvo off as well, and it's going to be unsuccessful in suppressing the looter squad. Sentinel is now taking a bit of a dangerous path there. It's going to be forced away. Both the shooters have already been upgraded with the knob leader, but we have no bigger shooters as of yet, although one is queued up for one of the squads. These double shooters able to just keep applying pressure, going for the guardsman as opposed to the Sentinels. The Sentinel is receiving constant repair, so no point in going for that just yet. And we have some spotters on the way here for Torpid. Meanwhile, for BestN00b, we do actually have the second biggest shooter upgrade coming in, going to provide them with a lot of ranged damage early on in this game. Sentinel does need to be a little bit careful. If it tries to go a bit too close, it will just straight up die. Looters doing the highest amount of damage out of all setup teams up at point blank range. So definitely want to try and get a flank where possible. Hear the Inquisitor shouting, and she is over here going to be trying to fighting the BbBoS. No upgrades on either commander, so all generators have been destroyed here. Smoke grenade does go down. BestN00b is not phased, where does retreat away now. Heavy weapons team setting up in the wrong direction there. And overall, Torpid does defend, but at a bit of a cost. They're losing some heavy weapons team models and also losing his generators there. It's going to be putting them a little bit behind here. That is looking quite red at the moment, but with Torpid coming out of base with all his stuff in tow, should be able to reclaim some of the map back. All 3 generators are up for BestN00b, but even has an additional power node here as well, and is in control of this power, so it does provide him with a bit of extra. Torpid does have control of the sensor power in the map, but doesn't have that noded. No point in getting it noded because it's very easy for BestN00b to just walk up and kill it with his double shooters. Meanwhile, Guardsman just going around map. Sentinel probably going to try and come over to assist heavy weapons team and this Inquisitor. Going to be a triple cap for Torpid at the moment. Don't know how long this will last. We even have a multi-last. Torpid is really keen to bleed out BestN00b's VPs at this point in the game. These sluggers taking a lot of damage trying to get out close here. The double shooters not really wanting to go any further forward, and some Stormboys have been called in retaliation to the setup here, the very defensive play from Torpid. Some spotters are trying to run away. Sentinel could go in for a stomp there. Not sure why it's not going in for one, but doesn't want to leave the guardsman too far behind the BbBoS. Could have potentially got 1 models, but retreats away a little bit too quickly there. Meanwhile, Looters on the right-hand side here. BestN00b could just try and go for the generator farm, as Torpid is very defensive here. The heavy weapons team has actually moved towards the center of the map. It is going to be able to get a setup here. Some sluggers are going to go in. Hardboys has been used, but a nice stomp catches out all 4 models. The heavy weapons team is now forced into a retreat there. I feel like it could have maybe stayed there for a little bit longer. Spotters did get a nice knockback on both squads there. Inquisitor is now coming in for some melee support here against these sluggers. May even be able to get the squad here. Hammer of the Witches is going to go down, is going to catch out the 1 model remaining. That's going to be a squad loss there for BestN00b. At the same time, Torpid did lose his heavy weapons team, so losses on both sides. Overall, though, a slight value advantage, I guess, towards Torpid, as the sluggers did cost a little bit of extra requisition, and they did have the flame upgrade, so more requisition loss for BestN00b, more power loss there for Torpid. Depends on what the players are more comfortable with at this point. BbBoS is going to come in. No upgrades on the BbBoS yet. BbBoS just trying to buy some time for some units to get out of base here. Double shooters are now going to immediately follow him up. And look at the damage on this Inquisitor. Inquisitor may just go down here. Another special though, does not knock the Inquisitor on her feet. She does retreat away in time. BestN00b has got these shooters grouped up there. We do see him splitting them up now, but models from both sides of the squad have been knocked over, but these guardsmen are unable to really do too much with the BbBoS right in their faces. Sentinel is trying to do what it can. It's getting repaired up at the same time. It's trying to pick away some models, but going to be unsuccessful in picking off too many there. He's going to be forced to back away slowly, and in fact actually turns around there. Ideally, when you're moving your Sentinel back, it's not always possible because the game's pathing can make the Sentinel instantly turn around, but you always want to try and reverse the Sentinel as much as possible so that he can shoot while moving backwards, so you can try and get as much damage out as physically possible. These shooters are incredibly low at the moment, and the spotters are getting tied up by this BbBoS. BbBoS might be able to pick up a model there. Spot models are quite valuable, and the BbBoS dealing quite a lot of damage per hit. Definitely gaining some value there. So tier 2 for both players at the moment. Torpid has 68 red at the moment, BestN00b with 190. I'm not sure what abilities Torpid's been using. In fact, that's what he used. He's used a Banewolf Call-in. Banewolf no longer gets dropped in wherever you feel like from when I remember playing this game, but actually gets called straight out of base, just so you can't just drop it straight onto your enemy farm and instantly kill it. Banewolf though, just going to make its way towards BestN00b's farm. BestN00b not really having much of an answer for it at the moment. Imagine we'll see some beamy looters coming in here, but it's actually going to be some tank busters straight away. Tank busters should make their way out of base fairly quickly, but Torpid should be able to get at least 2 generators here. Well, they're saying they may be able to get a little bit more. Some Stormboys very deep into Torpid's territory at the moment, going for the VP, but it looks like they're trying to chase a unit back into base where there's no units in the base, so not really sure what they were after. Tank busters have now made their way out onto the field, but Banewolf, if you can keep it alive, is very good against the majority of the Orc army, or just very good against infantry in general, so Power Node still alive there, 230 HP. We'll be able to just about live there. We have the Sail armor as well on the Inquisitor, which is called the Excruciators, giving the Assail ability. Does allow you to lock a melee unit into place, snares them so they can still attack, but if you haven't got any units next to them, not really much they can do with just their pistols. I think Stormboy pistols deal about 1 damage per second, so yeah, not really the most effective. This Banewolf being a bit aggressive here. I feel there is no repair support for it available on the right hand side of the map at the moment. These tank busters are towards the centre, so you need to be careful with the Banewolf. It is very fragile, just 270 HP remaining, does have 600 when fully repaired. So even then, still a bit fragile if you're not careful. No generators have been built here for BestN00b. We actually have a Death Dread coming out, and if a Death Dread does pop out on the field, I don't think Torpid's really got much of an answer. He has got the melted pistols for the Inquisitor, but it's a very short range ability. The Banewolf, I believe, might slow vehicles. I can't remember if the Banewolf is like the Plague Champion's Bile Spear, where you can actually slow vehicles down. But we'll see, as the Death Dread is going to hit the field very shortly here. Sentinel does also have the ability to upgrade to a missile launcher as well. We'll likely see that as soon as Death Dread is shown on the field. Makes it more effective against infantry blobs, and also very effective against vehicles, depending on the type of missile used. Some shots there onto the Banewolf already. Inquisitor has marked one of the shooters there. The Spartans are just going to fall down straight away in this engagement. They do try and retreat away, but there's just a bit too much range damage coming in. Improved rocket packs are going to land on one of the guardsman squads here. The Inquisitor is getting very low herself, does have a nice retreat path to use there. Doesn't try to retreat through the Stormboys here. Sentinel has still not queued up the missile launch upgrade at the moment, so there's nothing on the field at the moment. There is going to be some Stormtroopers going to get called in here, and imagine we'll see the Melter Gun upgrade getting selected, or Melter Guns though, unfortunately not very good against the majority of the Orc army. Very good against vehicles, but not good beyond that. We do have the missile launch upgrade here for the Sentinel. Guardsmen are going to be forced away. This Banewolf is still trying to dance around this Death Dread. Melter Gun upgrade is going to be coming in here. Stormtroopers, we need to be careful. These shooters can try and suppress the squad. That's actually going to be a dead Banewolf. The Banewolf looks like it's just completely mispathing content there. And this game is looking very favoured towards BestN00b at this point in time. Sail is going to go down onto one of these Shooter Boys squads here, but the Inquisitor and the Stormtroopers are forced off. The Sentinel is very low here. Death Dread should be able to wipe down this entire generator farm, and BestN00b's army is massive in comparison to Torpid's at the moment. Torpid with the squads loss, the heavy weapons team loss, and also the Banewolf loss as well. GG does get called here, and we'll be moving into Game 2 shortly. And I'm going to start. Both players are ready to go, so we're going to be jumping into Game 2 Quest's Heresy in just a moment, and I imagine we'll probably also see the finals as well, given that we've got all the players online that we need to continue this. So let's have a look at the brackets quickly just to find out what's going on. So winner of Torpid and BestN00b will go into the grand finals, and winner of Dylan Redbeard will face the loser of Torpid and BestN00b. And then and then the winner of the loser brackets will then advance. So we'll see if all players are up for a bit of a longer evening. Starting off on the top side of the map, we're going to have Torpid playing as a Hive Tyrant, and on the bottom side we're going to be having BestN00b playing as the Lord Commissar. Straight away the shield gain activated there. Not really any downside to activating it immediately in the game, as it does not drain energy when it is idle, so you might as well keep it on so you don't forget to use it in combat. But meanwhile, nothing different about both players. Now calling their L. Going to be a oddly shiny Sentinel approaching the center of the map though. Sentinel should be able to pick off some decent amounts of models here. Sometimes you'll see players, they'll run over this green terrain on either side to prevent it from being used by their opponents. While Termagants are not the best at trying to make use of cover, they definitely still can make use of cover, even if it is like a small amount. So always want to try and crush as much cover as possible. But this Hive Tyrant is just going straight in for the Sentinel though. It just charges all the way to the enemy generator farm. The Termagants have also come in very aggressively positioned as well, going for the natural, or one of the natural requisition points here of BestN00b. So the stomp upgrade is going to be coming in here. This Hive Tyrant has taken quite a lot of damage so far, but it's just there to kind of buy some time in the very first engagement. Sure, you don't see the Hive Tyrant do too much damage against only ranged armies. Hive Tyrant is still going in. Some Termagants are going to try and leap in. They do bait out the stomp nicely there. In fact, none of the Termagant models actually got caught out there. The Hive Tyrant himself, though, did get caught out, so it will take some additional damage here. Some Termagants are also getting picked off at a distance as well, but the Hive Tyrant and the Termagants are buying so much time here, and meanwhile, Termagants are just capping around the map. Lord Commissar himself, though, is trying to pick off some models where possible. His last pistol actually does quite a lot of damage. I believe it does about 23 DPS, making it the highest ranged secondary in the game out of all commanders, or out of all melee commanders. And this is when we're excluding upgrades, as the Inquisitor would technically win that. But the Hive Tyrant himself, though, getting very low, is going to be forced off. This Sentinel nearly getting picked off, in fact, and I believe the Sentinel might actually go down. Wow, actually will go down. This path here is potentially not wide enough for the Sentinel to fit. We've seen in other games where tanks have not been able to fit down that path, so there's a small chance that the Sentinel would be unable to do so as well. And BestN00b in a bit of a rough position now, has lost a lot of map control to these Termagants and the Hive Tyrant together, and with the Sentinel lost, this is going to be a bit of a tough one for him. And we have Spore Mines coming out as well. Now that there's no hard melee counter like the Sentinel, Spore Mines can freely just walk up to the Guardsmen and either force them into a retreat or actually detonate successfully on the Guardsmen squads. Termagants are going to advance forward to do out the Crippling Poison upgrade, or the Toxic Sax upgrade rather, on two of the squads so far. It does increase the damage of the Termagants by about 40 to 50%. So it does provide a sizable increase in damage, always worth getting on your Termagants. In fact, I can just read it here. That's 30% damage. Increases their health as well, so another reason to get the upgrade. It is so cheap and provides a Crippling Poison ability, allowing you to keep the Lord Commissar locked into place, or any other squad for that matter, but another Sentinel on the field, no stomp upgrade as of yet. And with these Spore Mines approaching ever closer, these Guardsmen are going to take a bit of a detour here, and are going to run back to their generator farm. Sentinel's trying to poke down the Spore Mines as much as possible, but at 750 HP, they are fairly tanky. Sentinel trying to do what it can. There's actually a second spawn mine squad out in the field here, and that's going to be a lot of pressure here from Torpid. Maybe able to go for a full generator bash here, although there's only the one generator to go for. But I could definitely try and gain a lot of map control here. This map is incredibly awkward until you can actually get a vehicle to crush down these walls. The Sentinel is not heavy enough to do so. The Chimera, I believe, is also not heavy enough to do so. I think it's only walkers such as Dreadnoughts, Wraith Lords, and anything heavier than those that can actually crush those walls down, making it a bit of a problem for Imperial Guard in the early stages of the game. Has to rely on Torpid to potentially get a Tyrant Guard to do that. And the other thing as well, very annoying about spawn mines, they do not get stunned there by the Sentinel stun. They are immune to being stunned by the looks of it. We have this team though doing a lot of damage at point blank range. However, spawn mines will be able to detonate on one of the squads here, although Torpid fails to detonate the model in time. Do some warriors out on the field as well. A second set of warriors has been started here for Torpid. Not sure if that's an Overwatch mistake or if he intends to actually go double warriors. Does actually cancel that upgrade, or does cancel that unit. Guardsmen are going to be filtering here through the left hand side, but warriors and double thermal guns should be enough to force off the double guardsmen and Sentinel here. Heavy weapons team is set up to cover the main entrance. We do have the Barb Strangler purchase as well. That shot does barely miss the guardsman, but does not, in fact does actually shoot over the wall. I didn't think it would be able to do that. Initially I didn't think there'd be too much of an issue with this particular matchup on Quest Heresy, but just seeing Torpid play at the moment just makes you realise how annoying you can be on this map with the spawn mines, the Barb Stranglers, and the Hive Tyrant just running around doing his thing. Map is looking incredibly blue at the moment, with BestN00b only in control of his natural power, doesn't actually have any requisition points of his own, and isn't actually got a VP of his own as of yet. Is trying to capture both of those now though. But Torpid is going to have a massive advantage having such a higher economy. Even a Brood Nest game placed down in the mid so you can reinforce and get a slight health increase, or health regen increase there as well. Weapons team choosing maybe not the best time to tear down there, to get hit with the Barb Strangler, and they're forced into a retreat back to base. There's not too much of a distance for them to walk back into the fight though, but does allow Torpid some time to actually filter through and should be able to poke down at these generators here. Hive Tyrant still some upgrades coming in from actually getting improved Synapse upgrade. It's also getting the Bioplasma as well. This is going to be used to knock down the heavy weapons team once they are set up. I don't think it affects them in tier 2 when they do get the shield upgrade, but I don't think this game is going to go to tier 2 anytime soon. BestN00b is getting set up here, but the Bioplasma is about to go down here. It's going to catch out all models, and does also cause some damage to be dealt onto the ground there, so you don't want to set up in exactly the same place, so he's going to take a small amount of extra damage. But it's a very small amount. Every weapons team is tanky enough to survive that. Barb Strangler shot is going to go down, it's going to miss as the guardsmen do end up retreating away in time. And Torpid with enough resources to take up tier 2 soon. BestN00b is actually keeping up in terms of resources, but Torpid has actually invested quite a lot in tier 1. BestN00b is trying to make do with a very slim build in comparison. Lord Commissar is still off to the side capping, or is currently in base at the moment, but was off to the side capping earlier. He's not been joining in any of the main engagements at the moment. Isn't really going to be able to be very effective in the main engagements due to these Termagants. Due to there being 2 of them on the field, a double crippling poison will put an end to him very quickly. Sentinel trying to do as much work as physically possible, but is struggling. Does have some guardsmen though to come in for some repairs. Heavy weapons team is going to try and set up again. The Barb Strangler warriors are not in position to stop it from setting up in time. This will allow Sentinel to advance a bit further forward, having some extra protection here. However, the Hive Tyrant can always use the Bioplasma ability once again to force the setup team off the field. Heavy weapons team now forced off once again. Torpid is just going to advance a bit further forward. The Lord Commissar was getting forced off here by these Termagants and Homagants as well. Able to take on 2 squads by himself, and both players are taking up to tier 2 as well, so we'll see if BestN00b can make something in tier 2. Sentinel going to try and pick off some models as best as it can. Meanwhile, some guardsmen again get tied up by the Barb Strangler and the Hive Tyrant. Things are looking incredibly grim here for BestN00b. Bit of a rough matchup so far. With tier 2 now finishing up, and also cannon should probably come out on the heavy weapons team. We have Chimera getting built up as well now. At least with an auto cannon does provide you with a slight increase in range, and should be able to be quite effective against this ranged blob of Termagants. Sentinel trying to do what he can, Guardsman barely avoiding that shot there. And we have a Venom Brood on the way, and anticipation of a Chimera, but at the same time the range synapse upgrade on the Warrior Brood going to make these Termagants even more effective. Hive Tyrant may also opt to get a Venom Cannon of his own as well upon seeing the Chimera. Guardsmen trying to do what they can. Heavy weapons team has still not been upgraded as of yet. It's actually getting tied up by the Hive Tyrant though. There's going to be a full generator loss here for BestN00b. Not enough resources either to upgrade to Commissars for the Guardsman squads. Not really enough, in fact, for any sort of upgrade at the moment. BestN00b really lacking in power at the moment. Does have enough for an additional upgrade should he choose to go for one. Could always try and get some upgrades on Lord Commissar here. We do actually have a bomb coming in onto the Chimera there. Some repairs need to come in. Some Guardsmen are going to try and force melee onto these Venom Brood, or should force melee on the Venom Brood if they can. Do have a flare going down, which does prevent them from being able to fire from a decent distance. Warriors are losing models here. Warriors may even go down if they're not careful, but will only get away there with the one model loss. The Venom Brood do lose the model themselves as well. And when losing a model there on a Synapse unit, it does actually cause the other units to be knocked back. And BestN00b actually winning this engagement here quite nicely. Lord Commissar trying to do what he can, trying to poke down that Hive Tyrant, but not getting enough damage to quite finish him off there. And winning this engagement is a big victory here for BestN00b. Does allow him to gain some control in the middle of the map, as he so desperately needs right now. He's actually going to go for the generator farm here. I'm not sure if he can really do too much here. He's actually going to be able to get one generator at the very least, but heavy weapons team is going to try and cap up that natural VP, and these Homogons are just still going around the map, capping things up at the moment. It's going to be a triple cap against BestN00b at the moment, so we need to aim for some VPs very soon. Has spent more power, but I'm not actually sure what he's spent the power on. He's actually got a Commissar upgrade on both squads now. Does make him more effective, can reinforce 3 at a time, gives them 12 members in total as opposed to 9. And the Commissar himself actually does quite well in both melee and ranged combat, so it can be quite useful, but is also quite an expensive upgrade to go for, and with the lack of power income at the moment, it needs to be the right upgrade. BestN00b cannot afford to be very frivolous with his power expenditure. Meanwhile, Torpid is just coming in from the right-hand side here. Did take the long way around, some Rippers on the field. We also have the Crushing Claw upgrade for the Hive Tyrant. Does allow him to do heavy melee damage, very effective against vehicles, also very effective at picking off Guardsman models. I think it's just 1 hit per Guardsman model. Rippers are tying up one of the Guardsman squads. The Chimera has been inflicted here with the bomb from the Warriors. And the Venom Brood are chasing further forward. There is no flare available. Flare is actually used, in fact. Does have a fairly short cooldown, I believe. So Venom Brood are getting tied up by some Guardsmen here. This Chimera is so low at the moment, but the Crushing Claw from the Hive Tyrant is going to be enough to finish it off. And BestN00b is going to be forced into base at the moment. I don't think this is... yeah, that's going to be game for BestN00b. Not much that he can particularly do in that game. It's been such a rough game in Tier 1, needed every unit, everything alive in order to have a chance there against Torpid. It's going to bring the series 1-1. BestN00b will now have his map choice, and Torpid will be the first one to pick his commander, and I'll get a game hosted in just a moment. Torpid versus... So, op slots, let's get them all open. Also, thank you to Overdrive Man and Jubin Meguzu for the follows. Well, game number 3, starting off on the right hand side of the map. We're going to have BestN00b as a mech boy, not getting the choice of map he wanted, and also not getting the choice of commander he wanted, and for whatever reason having some screen flickering. And on the other side of the map, we're going to have Torpid playing as a Lord General with like the Rambo skin. I'm not sure what the chapter is meant to be, but looks pretty cool actually. Let's have a zoom in. They're like Catachin models. I don't know why this map is a bit weird. Digital Catachins. Is this the Catachin colour scheme actually, in fact? That would make sense. But so far, Sentinel has already popped out on the map. I don't think it's revealed itself just yet, although it's now starting to destroy some terrain, so it has revealed itself there. And BestN00b having a slightly delayed capture here on his power. Sentinel may try to go in for a decap here, but BestN00b should have enough resources to instantly buy a power node to prevent the Sentinel from going in for an early decap. Mechboy teleports in very aggressively, teleports defensively. Lord General is trying to force melee on Lord Mechboy. Lord General is a much better melee person in comparison to the Mechboy. Mechboy may see the electric armor come in a bit later in this game. These guardsmen taking quite a lot of damage here. Now the Sentinel is left without any repair support at the moment, but there is no melee support to stop the Lord General from walking up to these shooters. It's going to be a full retreat here for BestN00b in the center of the map, and we actually have triple guardsmen on the field here. Upgrades are going to be very delayed here for Torpid, as triple guardsmen are quite expensive to get out this early on with a Sentinel. No power node as of yet as well, so power income is going to be a bit delayed. Some upgrade coming in, some further requisition expenditure here for Torpid. Slugger's going to try and go in here, trying to base out the stomp. Torpid is not too phased about it. And the Sluggers end up losing 2 models there, but do buy a little bit of time there. Mechboy and Shooters now back out onto the field here. Shooters making their way towards the top side of the map, and Mechboy is making his way towards the bottom, but going to be unable to really do too much against the Sentinel here. Sentinel currently facing the wrong direction, getting shot up a little bit there by the Mechboy, but nothing that cannot be repaired. Some looters are going to make their way out onto the field here, and the Mechboy is going to go behind some yellow cover here. He's going to be able to pick off a guardsman or 2, but Sentinel should have its stomp ready to go once again. Mechboy could try and time the ability to try and dodge it, but just retreats away instead. Looters going to try and set up here, going to prevent Torpid from really pushing out on this bottom side of the map here, while the Shooters capture the top side of the map. Looters now cover that, and the Mechboy gets away there with 8 HP. May have dipped down as low as 6 or 7, and Lord General was actually forced into a retreat there. I'm not sure if that was a mistake or if he intended to retreat there. He wasn't taking too much damage from these Looters. It's actually a 4th Guardsman squad queued up for Torpid. This must be a mistake. But the 4th Guardsman squad is about to pop out there. Torpid is going to have a massive Guardsman army to keep alive there. In the later stages of the game, the Lord General, if he does get some upgrades on his Guardsmen, will be able to provide some serious buffs to his army there. So we'll see how that goes. Lucer's going to try and set up here, but with the additional Guardsman squad, that leaves Torpid short. He won't be able to get any catchings or spotters unless he really wants to go very hard in Tier 1. Sentinel coming in very aggressively. These Lucers were forced to tear down due to some Guardsmen forcing melee here, and Lord General is now going to follow that up as the Guardsman squad is now forced off. Nothing to really stop the Lord General from walking up at the moment. The Mechboy is going to come in for a bit of assistance, but these Shooters overall are taking a little bit too much damage here and will be forced off the field. Sentinel gained very low though, but repairs do come in at the very last second there. If the Shooters had stayed in combat for a little bit longer, they may have just been able to squeeze out enough damage, but it would have been a close one to call though. Mechboy trying to do what he can. Currently reloading though. Does pick up a few models, and we do have the electric armor upgrade coming in for the Mechboy as well. Does power melee damage, very effective against retreating units, as melee does more damage to retreating units, but at the same time does drain energy very quickly, so you want your Mechboy to level up as quickly as possible so that you can actually have more energy to make use of it. Mechboy with the default of 100 energy do get 10 energy per level you level up. I believe it's 10, it's not 15, is it? Nova Commander is level 2, so I can't tell, but I'm pretty sure it's 10. Most turret is going to go down in the center of the map here. It's to be able to cover the entire VP, in fact cover most of the sense there. It doesn't have much range, but is going to prevent any sort of aggressive chasing. That Sentinel is getting so low, one squad's getting tied up by the Lord General, and it does live just barely though. The Lord General is able to tie it up just in time. Is getting suppressed by the Looters, but not really taking too much damage from these Looters though. And Lord General going to try and force melee once again here. Guardsmen are going to get suppressed by these Looters, but Lord General should be able to get a flank against these Looters now. And it will be forced to tear down. BestN00b is behind in power at the moment against Torpid, but Torpid is probably lacking very heavily in terms of requisition. Slugger's going to get hit there by that stomp, so good thing they did retreat away in time and was taking some additional damage. Overall, Torpid's army is quite large. I think he's got guardsman upgrades on all squads. And he has as well, that's 290, no, yeah, 295 per squad, so for the sake of it, let's just say 1180 requisition has been spent on just tier 1 units, of just guardsmen. Additional 300 on Sentinel. He's also getting some Castrations as well. This is going to be an incredibly expensive tier 1 here for a Torpid. Nice combination though of the electric armor with the shooters also firing away at the same time. This multi-last turret is probably going to go down here. The shooters try to aggressively walk past it, but taking a lot of damage in the process. Some guardsmen coming in for some assistance as well. These guardsmen are probably going to get forced off here. The medipacks being handed out there by the Lord General Sergeant. These shooters getting very low at the moment. Maybe also focus it down with the multi-last turret though, but not quite having enough damage to finish it off. The Sentinel could have also used the stomp ability, but it would have been quite aggressive to try and go in for that. And now Catashin's out in the field. These looters are going to retreat away in anticipation of getting hit by the grenade launcher ability. And Torpid is going to be able to apply some pressure on this generator farm. BestN00b's actually going to concede the game. 222 VPs to 500. VPs were ticking down pretty quick there with the quad guardsman build. And surprisingly not many units died in that game, but the game didn't really last long enough, otherwise probably would have seen that reach to hundreds easily. Game 4, BestN00b going to be starting off Lord General on the right hand side, meanwhile Torpid on the other side of the map going to be playing as the Lictor Alpha. Both players using all their commander vetoes, so being forced to pick this. Torpid saying a good map choice, don't know if he means for himself or if he means for BestN00b. Don't know if the players can actually see each other at this point. Torpid can see the map being captured, and BestN00b can see the requisition point being captured, but Lictor Alpha is going to try and infiltrate, but Lictor Alpha has been spotted at this point in time. Sentinel is making its way towards mid, and Sentinel, while it can detect, it does have very short detection range, so can be hard to make use of. Lord General and Sentinel just going to go in very aggressively here. Going to go in for a decap on this requisition point. The Sentinel would have been better to get a decap on the requisition point just because it does have the fast decapping ability, but does want to send the Sentinel elsewhere around the map, so we'll be going towards the right hand side. We'll be going to the left hand side. Looks like BestN00b trying to spot where Torpid may be placing his power. Decides going for the Lictor Alpha now instead. Lictor Alpha now being detected. Lictor may just decide to sit on this point to try and get a decap, but will mean that it's in base for a bit of time. They're unsuccessful in getting the decap as well, so going to be in base healing up for a bit of time. Lord General going to be making its way towards the right hand side. Meanwhile, the left hand side has been kind of left abandoned here by BestN00b, but he's not actually got a natural power point at this time, so we need to grab one soon. We need to grab one on the right hand side at this point. One on the left hand side where you is now heavily contested here by Torpid. In terms of power on this map, it generally is personal preference where you decide to place it. A lot of times people will place it on the right hand side, a lot of times people will place it on the left hand side. I generally prefer this side, but both sides can work, depends if you can defend it or not. Homogons are going to come in here. There's some spore mines on the left hand side making their way towards the middle. There are a lot of narrow corridors which you can use to try and navigate your spore mines through, but at the same time it's also you're forced to go through a corridor, so if your opponent is ready to fight then there's not really much opportunity to flank unless you take an incredibly long path around the map. So we have 3 Termagon squads here for Torpid, as we saw in game 2 when he was playing the Hive Tyrant. Some upgrades are going to come in at the moment, so two of the squads have been upgraded thus far. A third one will be delayed for quite some time as the upgrades do cost 15 power each. And meanwhile, BestN00b just securing the entire right hand side at the moment. There is no generator farm here for Torpid at the moment. It does have a power node, but no generators to go with it. And Sentinel just trying to do what he can to pick away at some models here. A bit of an awkward position for BestN00b as We will need to retreat through these Spore Mines potentially, but Spore Mines won't deal too much damage here. Elixir is just going to go straight in here. Stomp comes in, knocks it over before it can knock over any guardsman here, and Sentinel is getting stuck on these guardsmen. Termguns are just swarming through here. These guardsmen are taking quite a bit of damage here. Lord General is going to come in for a bit of assistance, but one guardsman squad is already forced into retreat. Termguns might be able to melee this down, actually. They're not too bad in melee, but unsuccessful in finishing the squad, but do get some additional models here. Some Spore Mines against CB coming in for a bit of assistance here. Sentinel is in a bit of risk of going down here. It's taking a few bursts there from these Termguns, and the Crippling Poison comes in on the Lord General, but Lord General is very good in both ranged and melee. Not really specialising in one or the other, but he's going to be forced off there as Elixir is still chipping away at him. No upgrades on Elixir Alpha as of yet, but could potentially see some upgrades from him later, such as the Pheromone upgrade to reinforce on the field. You can also see the Scythe ability get used if the Elixir is able to get in the midst of some guardsmen, can knock them all on their feet. And also deal quite a lot of damage and potentially pick away models a bit quicker. You know, Sentinel going to try and chip away at some more Termguns here. Is able to pick off a few models, but now they're sitting behind some green cover. The green cover was not torn down by the Sentinel earlier. And Torpid trying to go for the Generator, but it's going to be unsuccessful in doing so, I'd imagine. Guardsman meeting some Spore Mines there, decided not to detonate. There's no point to detonate on retreats, as you're not going to finish off the squad or any of the damage that you deal is going to get healed up anyway in base. Some Catechins have arrived on the field, and some Warriors have also arrived on the field. Catechins with their power melee are going to be very good against the Warriors, but at the same time don't necessarily want to be fighting them in melee combat, but also can fight them quite easily in defensive position. Spore Mines doing some damage to these Catechins. All Spore Mines have been killed or have been detonated, and the Catechin is going to be forced off there against these Termguns. Definitely not the unit that you want to fight in melee combat. Be very costly and efficient to do so. But Sentinel and Guardsmen are coming down here. Warriors have got a Barbed Strangler. Lord General is going to try and force melee there, and a nice Barbed Strangler shot actually catches up both these Guardsmen squads. Termguns from the front, Termguns from the back here. Termguns have been affected by the Sentinel Stump, and another Barbed Strangler shot does go down on these Guardsmen, unable to fire back at this point in time. Another Barbed Strangler shot is about to go down. BestN00b will be forced into a retreat here. Homogon's close to being wiped, but going to be unsuccessful in wiping the squad. Elixir does pull in the Lord General there, but going to be unsuccessful in finishing him off. Some more Guardsmen are coming out of base there. BestN00b did go for triple Guardsmen in this particular game, and some Catechins have arrived back out of base. One Warrior model dies, knocking over these Termguns there due to the Synapse knockback. Sentinel and Catechins could try and finish off another Warrior model, but going to be unsuccessful in doing so. And it's going to be some Raveners getting purchased here for Torpid. Raveners will be able to jump in onto the Guardsmen, and the Catechins will be able to disrupt them quite easily. And one of the Termgun squads did go down. I'm not sure where it went down though, or if it just went down in the midst of that engagement. I just completely missed that. Might be why Torpid was saying hotkeys are hard. He must have only just lost these Termguns. Catcher is going to knock back the Termguns, knocking them back close to base. Okay, so they died to the Catchers. Fair enough, I completely missed that. Raveners coming in, only to be met here with a multi-last turret. Catcher is actually forced to retreat away here. Multi-last turret may get refunded at this point in time if you can still refund it. Sentinel is getting chased down. The burst damage from the Raveners is quite scary for the Sentinel to go up against here. And all units of Torpids just walking around as multi-last at this point, with the exception of Elixir, which is still there and fighting. Guardsmen forced into a retreat there, not wanting to take that Barbed Strangler shot, and the Generator farm may just go down in its entirety. Some units for BestN00b are coming out of base at the moment. He's going to be the first one to tier 2, and Torpid's actually quite far behind, with only 50 power saved up at the moment. Doesn't really have much power income in comparison to BestN00b. Catcher is going to be throwing a smoke grenade, reduces the incoming range damage here so that Sentinel can freely fire away. Both Generators now going down here for BestN00b. Does need to protect that power node, otherwise it will be delaying his power even further. These Barbed Strangler Warriors, though, a massive pain to deal with. Catcher is also taking too much damage there from that Barbed Strangler. Raveners coming in here. Sentinel does need to be a little bit careful. Ravenous burst damage is a bit scary, but Sentinel will be able to live overall. And Lord General's just been capping up this entire time here. The entire right-hand side belongs to BestN00b, but it is taking a lot of damage. But taking away the natural requisition point from Torpid, which was fully matured, is always a good choice. Lord General currently retreats away at the moment, doesn't lose any of his models. Meanwhile, Torpid trying to gain as much map control everywhere else at the moment. Some Homagons still on this left-hand side. Or is this Spore Mines? No, it's Homagons. Some additional Spore Mines have been purchased, though, being sent around to that left-hand side. Not sure if he's going to try and use them for a flank, or if he's just going to try and leave them on the left-hand side for any guardsmen that do try and go that side. Tier 2 now completed for BestN00b, but nothing been purchased as of yet. Is lacking the power at the moment to buy Chimera, but maybe his first choice. Castions in the mid side with some guardsmen here. Lictor deciding to not go in any further. Shotgun Blast was casted but did not go off successfully. Castions now forced into retreat after they've taken too much melee damage. And pheromones have been placed down on the ground. Does allow Tyranid units to reinforce on the field. Does also deal a small amount of damage as well, I believe, or provide some damage reduction. It reduces damage of enemies by 30%, but when placed down defensively like that, doesn't really do too much in terms of reducing enemy damage, but does allow Torpid to reinforce all of his Termagants on the field there. Can also reinforce other units, but all of his other squads were on full models, so it was just the Termagants that he had to worry about. Guardsmen currently repairing, not firing back at these units. Sentinel is taking quite a lot of damage here. Does need to back away the burst damage from these Termagants and Raveners. Still very much a threat, and Chimera has been purchased and is on its way, and Torpid does not have an answer to that at the moment. I don't think he's got enough requisition to tech up. Doesn't actually have enough power either. Nice grenade barrage though. Keeps these Termagants pinned here. The Elixir Alpha is a little bit low, so does need to be careful about wandering around map. Pheromones placed down once again. And Torpid is keen to just resume this push. Really wants to power block BestN00b as best as possible. Not sure what power block is an actual like phrase used, but yeah. Chimera now poking in from the rear. There's not really much that these Termagants and Raveners can do. Raveners are actually going to try and burrow against these guardsmen. They're going to be forced into a retreat there. Do have another model ready to go, so as soon as they pop into base, they'll be able to reinforce that one model that they're missing. And Torpid still lacking resources to go into tier 2. Only needs another 40 requisition to do so though. And these Homagons and Spore Mines have just kept control of this left-hand side for quite some time. Torpid has had a full generator farm for the entire time, and has also had the power as well as the VP, so it's been quite good for him. 217 VPs, 467. BestN00b does need to make a bit of an effort against this VP bleed. BestN00b with a lot of requisition banks up, but lacking power income to kind of balance that out, I guess. Sentinel is potentially going to go for a decap against this VP now, though.
200 points, sir. Down out here.
In fact, Torpid's actually got more power in comparison to BestN00b in tier 2. The Sergeant gets pulled in there, but a Warrior model goes down. Guardsmen are going to be able to get inside the Chimera. It doesn't matter if the one model is a bit too far away, they all get inside. And Raven's going to be able to force off this other Guardsman squad. Not sure if any of the Guardsmen have been upgraded as of yet. Lord General has got the Stabilizer armor. And I can't actually remember what the back in the fight ability does. I'm sure we'll see what it does. Looks like Castions are going to be replacing Lord General on the left-hand side though to try and cap up some map control. Castions also have a Sergeant leading them as well. The Sergeant is equipped with a melter gun and also does provide additional health to the squad. You know, some Guardsmen with the Commissar upgrade trying to fight some Raveners, but making their way back to the Chimera now. Raveners are going to try and burrow and try and interrupt these Guardsmen. We'll be able to knock them back before being forced into a retreat there. You know, Chimera is just kind of driving around there. 119 VPs, 455. The VPs are still ticking down a bit slowly here for BestN00b, but is capturing with his Castions and is also decapping with his Lord General at the moment, so things may turn around for him in just a moment. Termagant's going to be able to get a decap against this fully matured requisition point, although the Termagants are still not retreating away. These guardsmen should be able to force melee and kill the squad, or just kill the squad outright in melee, in range rather. Casterion's getting a bit jumped on at the moment. Casterion's should probably just back away here. There's a bit too much melee for them to try and handle. Shotgun blast with a stomp going down at the same time. The Hormiguns don't know in which direction that they should be thrown towards. The map is looking incredibly blue at this point in time. Sentinel does need to be careful, doesn't have stomp, so if the Hormiguns get surrounded, it'll be a bit screwed. He's able to back away just in time, and BestN00b now in control of the middle of the map, in control of the right hand side of the map. Maybe able to win this game. We have a Venom Brood getting called down here and some Rippers, but Rippers not able to get into melee combat in time. The Hormiguns is getting wiped there. 46 HP it went down to. Always need to be careful about your own abilities. Pillar Tower is going to go down a bit of an awkward spot. You need to go all the way around to try and kill it, but shouldn't cause too much distress here for BestN00b. Rippers going to try and go in. Rippers do slow per bites against the Chimera, and the Venom Brood doing quite a lot of damage to the Chimera and will be forced to sit at the back. But just in range though to allow the Guardsmen to reinforce in the field. Some pheromones have been placed down on the ground, does reduce the range damage of these Guardsmen if they step on it, but at the same time they don't matter as there are so many Guardsmen on the field. But there's just plenty of damage to go around for all these Tyranid models, and BestN00b with quite a lot of requisition banked up at this point in time could place down some additional generators to try and balance out his economy a little bit better, could try and call in a Leman Russ in tier 3, but it's actually going to be going for some Stormtroopers. Stormtroopers very effective against Torpid's army at the moment with the assault kit, just based on all of it being infantry based armor. Or I know that the Venom Brood and the Warriors are heavy infantry, but Stormtroopers actually do quite well against them still. Just the high amount of burst damage allows them to kill a model, and then that model death means a synapse knockback for Torpid's army. Actually decapping the power there against Torpid, that's quite brutal. Sentinel is still alive, but for how long though? Not very, apparently. Game half locked on the Lord General, but the Chimera is coming in. The anti-vehicle grenade was used on the Sentinel, is now no longer available for the Chimera, but Rippers are coming in and actually eating away at this Chimera. It's now going to be slow to the point of it being unable to move, but a really nice creeping barrage there is just going to demolish Torpid's army, forcing them all back to base. Lictor Alpha does go down, Rippers are going to fall here, and the generator farm remains neutral. Could be captured by BestN00b if he so desires, if he is feeling very confident, or can just be torn down if he wants to be a bit safer. Pillar Tower is going to get torn down as well. Casterion's is going to go in for the capture, and some Hormiguns are trying to bash power, but Stormtroopers should be able to put an end to it, if assuming the Stormtroopers don't run up too close there. They do have a grenade available, will throw down a grenade and will retreat on top of their own grenade. Luckily only losing the one model there. Hormiguns are all over the place there. I'm not sure why there's a model all the way over there, but there is. Going to be running back to base now though. And BestN00b, feeling confident, actually captures power, and it's going to be taken up to tier 3, so we'll see a Leman drop come in, or potentially a rocket run, because he has got 596 red available. Meanwhile, all these Guardsmen have been fully upgraded with Commissars. Can even see the Plasma Gun upgrade, given that there are both Venom Brood and Warrior Brood on the field. Their Plasma Guns are incredibly effective against heavy infantry-based armor. But even still, with the default Last Guns, it is still really good, and Lord General is going to be providing some health. I'm not sure what from. It's going to be from the Stabilizers, in fact, actually. Stabilizer armor providing some health to these Guardsmen and these Castercions. One Warrior model does fall down, causing some Termagants to knock back, and another one's about to die soon. Raveners also getting very low as well. Some Castercions could force melee on these Raveners on their retreats here to try and kill the squad, but the Chimera is taking a lot of damage here from the Venom Brood. Lord General is going to go in to tie that up, and will just about survive there. Tier 3 is about to finish, so BestN00b could potentially just walk into base and cast a rocket run there if he is really feeling it. Rippers trying to do what they can, but can't really do much when they can only tie up a squad. They don't really deal any damage themselves. Warrior is going to be coming around the corner. Torpid calls GG in this particular game. Does mean that we will be going into Game 5 in just a moment. Definitely made the game run a heck of a lot smoother, so I'm just going to keep it like that. But in the remade game, again, didn't pay attention to loading screen, I never really do these days. I'm assuming that BestN00b is now here. BestN00b has typed in a message, so we're good to go. BestN00b, or rather Torpid, going to be on the right hand side playing as Brother Captain once again. BestN00b is on the opposing side as the Plague Champion. The ultimate matchup. This is game number 5 in the series. The winner will go on to the grand finals. Nearly forgot what I was going to say there. Winner will go on to face in the grand finals. Meanwhile, the loser of this game will go towards the loser side of the bracket, where they will face either Redbeard or Adilla. I can't remember who won the series, but I'm sure one of you guys in the chat can shout out who won. But Torpid, probably not going to be wanting to go for a double strike squad build in this particular game. The Plague Champion being a hard melee counter with his upgrades and various other bits. Double strike squad is probably not going to be too effective. The Plague Champion would buy a Plague Sword without a doubt in order to try and counter that. But both commanders are going to be meeting here. The Plague Champion's bolter doesn't deal the most damage in the game, but it does deal damage over time, and that is where the damage does come from. With the CSM and the Plague Champion here, and some Heretic Worship to provide some health regeneration. Brother Captain is going to be unable to really do too much. Just Plague Champion is just walking around, avoiding these swings as best as he possibly can. While the CSM do fire away there. Brother Captain now going to be forced into a retreat after buying a decent amount of time. Meanwhile, Torpid just capping up the remainder of the map with some other units. Some IST going to go in for the VP by the looks of it, or maybe hoping that BestN00b has forgotten to put down a power node. However, BestN00b has not forgotten that. It's only a single Heretic squad here for BestN00b. Typically you would see double Heretics, but deciding that he doesn't want to bleed too much or deciding he wants some early powers, actually going to be going straight in for some Havocs after placing down 2 Generators. CSM do scout as well, but the power node has finished for Torpid as well, so he can't just go in for a very early decap there. And Strike Squad are going to go for the Nemesis Force upgraders, provide them with an additional 10 melee skill, additional melee damage, and some additional health as well, making them a very strong melee unit. Can also make use of the Mind Blade's global ability as well, so you grant them an additional 10 melee skill, giving them 80, allowing them to special nearly everything in the game, unless it's another unit with even more melee skill than that, but that is very rare. Some Heretics going to go in, but these Heretics coming in with an Aspiring Champion at the last second there. Squad did get very low, we'll be able to force off these ISTs. Some Strike Squads are trying to come in for a flank to try and get some protection for these IST, but going to be coming in a little bit too late. Heretics will now back away there. Strike Squad should be able to win that engagement fairly easily, but Havocs are going to try and set up there. All models are now killed with the exception of the Aspiring Champion himself, who is pretty tanky there at 300 HP. Brother Captain is going to try and come in, but Havocs are set up. Brother Captain is immune to suppression, however, but will still take quite a lot of damage if he does chase in a bit too far. CSM firing away at the Strike Squad. They're currently sitting behind some green cover, so not really taking too much damage, but the damage over time from the Plague Champion's bolter will still hit at full damage behind cover no matter what. And it's actually going to be the Plague Sword coming in here. Plague Champion, though, is going to be forced off. It may even go down here. Strike Squad is going to go in. That could be a very expensive upgrade there, wasted. Plague Champion will now need to be repurchased for 250 requisition. The Plague Sword is always a great upgrade against Strike Squads, does deal about 50 power melee DPS, also ignores melee resistance, so you don't have to worry about 40 and 40% damage reduction there. We do have a grenade going down on these Havocs. The IST, or Inquisitorial Operatives rather, are going to try and force melee against these Havocs to force them to tear down, but at the same time they're also standing on top of their own incendiary grenades, so do take quite a lot of damage in trying to do that. IST unable to push any further forward, and do actually have a retreat coming in for these operatives. CSM just down to 2 models as well, and BestN00b does repurchase the Plague Champion as well. Do also have what was it called? Mucus Discharge, I can't remember what it was called there. Does allow Plague Champion and nearby units to heal up for about 130, I believe. Can be a nice little heal, but at the same time Plague Champion is still quite vulnerable in tier 1, doesn't have any armor at the moment. can get the fettered armor, which does provide some additional health, does allow you to suppress nearby units, but generally most players tend to prefer the Pestilent armor in tier 2, which provides an additional 600 HP, as well as some other benefits. CSM taking quite a lot of damage there. They are getting some health regeneration from these heretics, but the burst damage from the ISTs is quite a lot, so don't want to fight that too easily there. Havocs are currently in base at the moment, regenning up, but we'll be back out on the field soon. These heretics and the plate champion not really able to do too much against these ISTs. They have high movement speed, plate champion does not, so we'll be able to avoid him for the most part. He's going to be sitting behind some green cover. He is very tanky there, especially with this heretic worship on the go. Can also make use of the mucus discharge as well. These IST getting a little bit too close. They're trying to base him out of that green cover. We'll just casually revert back to that though. BestN00b going to be taken up to tier 2 very quickly. Torpid's only on 60 power at the moment, so Torpid's going to be a little bit far behind. IST's retreating away, maybe a bit prematurely. Torpid could have maybe kept them on the field a little bit longer to try and cap up some of these requisition points that are left unguarded at this point. But with a very fast tier 2, we could see a Blood Crusher come out and try and apply a lot of pressure against Torpid here. IST and Operatives going to go in for those requisition points. Meanwhile, BestN00b is flooding down this right-hand side, going to go for the VP by the looks of it. Strike Squad and Brother Captain trying to look for an opponent at this time. And we'll be able to find one in mid, but deciding to just go around to the VP. The plate champion does suffer from a lack of mobility, so you can try and fight that. Or try and abuse that rather, not fight it. That plate champion though is still a little bit low at 400 HP. Does also have risk of getting knocked over by the Strike Squad in melee combat as well. Grenade does go down, does land on the heretics. The IST do have an instantly exploding grenade, however it does do about half the amount of damage in comparison to a way where like a grenade would do. Blessed Aegis for the Brother Captain does allow him to use energy as a shield, and the Strike Squad are going to have Mind Blades added to them as well. Does give him 80 melee skills, so the plate champions are really able to do too much against them. May have been better to wait for the Plague Fist in tier 2, as you can use the Pestilent Strike ability to stun the squad in place, allowing you to win the melee fight with ease. And Blood Crusher has been purchased here for BestN00b, and all of his models are getting forced off the field. Torpid may be able to go in for a power bash very early here in this game. The map is incredibly blue at the moment. The only thing BestN00b is in control of is his natural Jones farm, asking Torpid to stop, but I don't think Torpid really wants to stop, though he does want to win this game. With the Blood Crusher though, he should be able to apply some pressure around the map. However, Torpid does have enough resources to easily buy a Rhino, and that Rhino can then be upgraded with a last cannon on top of it, and that should be able to be chased around the Blood Crusher with ease, or at least apply a lot of pressure to the Blood Crusher. Operatives going to go in for the decap. Havocs are going to be able to set up here. There is a long-range grenade getting thrown down there. Going to be another incendiary grenade. Is not going to be quite enough to affect these Havocs, but CSM will be affected and will just take a defensive position. But the Blood Crusher now out on the field is going to start charging in, or walking in. Going to keep that charge for a bit later. The Mucus Discharge did go off to heal up these CSM. And Blood Crusher now opting to charge in. Is going to catch out one model there. Going to switch targets towards these Operatives instead. These Operatives are fairly squishy and do cost a lot to reinforce, and the Strike Squad are going to knock out the play champion. Do need the Pestilent armor, which does give you immunity to knockback. CSM also getting forced off, also losing a model there as well. Very unfortunate for BestN00b. Strike Squad are just going to resume chasing. Moving pretty quick there. Okay, another melee charge once again. Havocs are set up here, but going to be forced off these IST and Operatives with their grenades. Going to be a bit too much, and the Blood Crusher is trying to do what it can around the map. It's actually going to be a Dreadnought first for Torpid instead. Dreadnought can be upgraded with a melee claw, can also be upgraded with a plasma cannon as well, but might be a melee claw in this case. It's actually going to be a multi-melter. With a multi-melter, there's not really much the Blood Crusher can do in both range and melee, since it will lose in both. Well, not that the Blood Crusher has any ranged abilities or ranged damage there. But some zombies getting made here from the play champion. Maybe able to wipe this strike squad here. The Blood Crusher does charge in. One more hit is going to be enough, and that strike squad is going to die. Gets thrown aside there by the Blood Crusher. Topid saying, why would he want them anyway? Does have the Dreadnought though on the field with the multi-melter ready to go. Blood Crusher will need to be extremely careful here. The damage to that Blood Crusher already in just a single shot is crazy. With some Bloodletters on the field though, Heretic Worship is going to be very important here for both the Blood Crusher and the Bloodletters. Both of them demonic units, both of them benefiting greatly from Heretic Worship. ECSM taking a lot of damage here, and BestN00b unable to really control a lot of his natural points here. Going to be the Curse of Tzeentch, or the Mark of Tzeentch rather, not the Curse, for these Havocs, going to allow them to equip a last cannon instead. Blood Crusher taking an incredibly defensive position in that little Kresovs there. Bloodletter is going to teleport in onto these IC, going to try and deny some repair supports. Meanwhile, the Brother Captain there is going to tie up the Havocs there, preventing the multi-melter Dread from really doing too much. Grenade does go down on the Blood Crusher, but they're already out of range, so not really much they can do now. Bloodletter is already a model down, another model down. The multi-melter just does so much damage in its little burst. It pretty much one-shots most things. I think it does about 140 damage, is it? 190 damage, sorry, per shot. Mouse damage effective against all targets as well, so that single shot definitely effective at picking off models. Does lack any decent sort of range though. However, very useful for chasing units as you can fire on the move. Brother Captain also equipping the Nemesis Warding Staff does allow you to shield a unit, I believe. And with the Purifiers on the field, you have a unit to protect, as the Strike Squad earlier did go down. Purifiers already getting the Justica upgrade as well. Should be able to do pretty well in melee combat here, especially if they have Mind Blades activated. They should be able to fight these Bloodletters quite easily. Meanwhile, Operatives also gain a leader as well into infiltrate here. There's no infiltration detection nearby here for BestN00b, but does have the Aspiring Champion on his Heretics, so needs to get them close to the area. These Bloodletters take quite a bit of damage here from these shotguns. Need to be a bit careful. Don't want to lose too many models. Bloodletters are only regular infantry, so do take full damage here from these Operatives. Also needs to be careful of the Incendiary Grenade. Touch of Nurgle getting used here on these Purifiers, but Heretics probably need to be worshipping as opposed to using Touch of Nurgle in combat here. Purifiers are going to go in, and the Bloodletter's just down to a single model. In fact, they're on 2 models, but not quite going to be enough. Dreadnought is backing away there. Dreadnought does benefit from Touch of Nurgle. However, the Touch of Nurgle heal is not great for a vehicle anyway. Heretics backing away, the play champion backing away. BestN00b is going to concede. That does mean BestN00b will be going down to the losers bracket, and Torpid will advance to the finals of the tournament. If we take a look at the brackets when I'm out of this loading screen. Web browser. I need to reopen these because I restarted my game. But let's see if I can get the brackets up and available. So once they update in a second anyway, so Redbeard is going to be facing up against BestN00b here in the losers bracket final. The winner of that losers round will go on to face Torpid once again, so BestN00b may have a shot of redemption here if he does defeat Redbeard here. So we'll see. I don't know if the players are going to be up for playing at this time though. But maybe I can message someone and find out. Maybe I've got best. Oh, I do actually. Is Redbeard here as well? Oh no, Redbeard can't play his games. That's fair enough. Already played quite a few games with everyone today. So in that case, League is going to go on hold unless any Division B players want to play their games, but again it is kind of late. So I imagine that we'll be resuming this at some point during the following week. But thank you guys for watching. I'll be uploading these games to YouTube at some point. I need to upload some of the Division B games as well that I've played and have recorded, so they'll go up at a similar sort of time, but we'll resume playing some League again at some point. Be sure to follow if you enjoyed the stream, if you want to get some further alerts about the stream, and I've got this Game of Thrones ad just sitting here. Let's get rid of that. But thanks for watching, good night guys.